Hello and welcome back to Grade 7 Math. This is lesson number 9.1, Collect and Organize Data. In today's lesson, we are going to look at different ways that people collect and organize data or information. Before we continue, let's write down some of the ways that people collect data that we already know about. So let me give you some instructions before you pause the video. Just take a couple of moments to think about some of the ways that you have seen people collect information. You can write down your thoughts on a separate piece of paper if it helps, and we'll share our ideas in tomorrow's class. So pause the video now and think of some ideas. Okay, moving on. There are two types of data which people collect. The first type is called primary data. Primary data is information that the person collects on their own. Examples include surveys and counting. What other examples of primary data can you think of? So you can pause the video, think of some other examples of primary data, and then we'll discuss this in class tomorrow. The second type of data is secondary data. This is information that has been taken from other sources. Examples of secondary data include information taken from a textbook or a website. So, what are some other examples of secondary data that you can think of? So, pause the video, think about some possible examples of secondary data, and again, we'll talk about this in class tomorrow. When collecting primary data, a tally chart is a useful way to record the information. We can use tally marks to quickly record the number of people who give a particular answer. And here's an example of a very simple tally chart. You can see that the person is collecting information on people's favorite color. In this column here, we have a variety of different colors. And over here, the person taking the survey has used tally marks to count how many people responded for each color. So just think about this now. Looking at this chart, which colors received the most responses? And on the flip side, which was the least popular color? So take a look at the chart, find the color or colors which received the most tally marks, and also look for the color that received the least responses. You can pause the video here for a few moments, and then we'll talk about this in class tomorrow. We can add an extra column to a tally chart, making it a frequency table. In the frequency column, we convert the tally marks to actual numbers. Okay, so this is a chart uh, just taking a survey of the height of people's or students in centimeters. Okay, so this first column means students who are between 150 and 155 centimeters, 155 and 160, and so on, all the way up to 175. Okay, and again, they've extended this chart by adding the frequency column. All they've done is they've just counted the number of tally marks in each row. So for example, in the first row, there were 2. The second row, there were 7. The third row, 8, and so on. So questions to think about, and we'll talk about them tomorrow. What was the most common height? And what was the least common height? So you can pause the video here to think about your answers, and then we'll move on. We can take the information from a tally chart or a frequency table and put it on a bar graph. A bar graph is useful for comparing different amounts. So here you can see the person started off either with a tally chart or a frequency table, and they were asking people, what kind of pet do you own? At the bottom, you can see there were 5 types of animals that people could choose from. This vertical axis shows the number of people who were surveyed. So I just want you to think about this question. What observations can we make from this bar graph in terms of which animal received the most responses, which animal received the least responses? So you can pause the video if you need, and then we've got a couple of final slides. All right. Another way to display and compare the frequency of different things is a pictograph. A pictograph uses pictures to show the frequency of the items in a frequency table. A pictograph includes a legend, which tells us what the pictures represent. So you guys are going to love this one because they're surveying people about their favorite uh, junk food items. So we had chips, chocolate, candy. And you can see that for each column, each individual diagram or picture means uh, 10 of those items were sold. Okay, so using the legend, we can see that the following amounts of each treat were sold. So let me just set up my pen. Let's go with red. Okay, so looking in the chips column, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times 10 is 50. Plus we have half a bag, so that must mean 5. So 50 plus 5 is, of course, 55 chips, or 55 bags of chips. Okay, for chocolates, we've got 10, 20, 30 plus 5, so that would give us 35 chocolates. And then finally for candies, we have 10, 20, 30, 40. Simple as that, folks. So, to conclude, today's homework involves reading a variety of tables, charts, and graphs and making important observations. Okay, this is a really neat lesson because there aren't any big formulas for you to remember or to have to work your way through. It's all just looking at different tables, charts, and graphs and describing what you see. So in your textbook, you're going to work on pages 276 to 279. Going to work with the first block, numbers 1 to 10. Skip 11, you've got 12 to 13, and then you're going to finish off with 21. And that concludes today's video.